What's up, everybody? Hey, Ken Mah from the West Coast. We're filming an episode of Bass Cave, and I know you haven't seen too many from the West Coast, so we're gonna show you. I'm from Elk Grove, which is just south of Sacramento. I love where I live, obviously, because I'm 45 minutes to the Delta. I'm an hour and 45 minutes to Clear Lake, right? Two of the best bass fisheries in the entire world. And we got all the motherlode lakes and all this other stuff. But with all that, we're gonna show you a West Coast version of Bass Caves. Come check it out. Well, here it is, guys. We are in my Cali garage. What I love about it, I always take a tape measure when I'm looking for houses. And it's a 4-car garage, and it's a 2-door opening. This side where the boat sits, it's almost 24 feet long by 22 wide. So my boat and all my tackle fits in here. I got a whole nother 2-car garage on that side where, my wife parks her car, and we have other stuff that belongs in the garage. What I love about my garage and what's really unique about it is it has a pull through. So the back, it has another opening in the back, and I have it covered with the patio. So if I'm fishing back-to-back days, like here, I'm 45 minutes to the Delta. So if I'm fishing 5, 6, 7 days in a row, I don't have to unhook my boat. I can basically pull my truck straight into my garage, pull my truck out the back, put this garage down, and I'm done for the day. I hook the batteries up, and I'm inside the house, eating dinner, resting, getting back at it tomorrow. So really like that part of my garage. And then I just love the space. For me, it all starts here with bulk storage. I'm known to be super meticulous and organized. You see everything in here is just labeled 2 times over. I think the most important thing, and I'll show you later, the most important thing I have in my garage is the label maker and a pair of scissors. If it's not bolted down, I like to put a label on it. So here is just all my bulk plastics, I use these bins, for instance, like I have all this right here. So I have all these big bite tour toads in here. I have them by color, and I put them in these bins. And what happens is if I'm going to a lake, like I'm getting ready for to leave to the Columbia River, and if I want my toads, I basically grab this whole bin. It's all ready. I don't got to pull things off of pegboards, pack them into a container, and then pack them into another container. So I just put them in these bins. I get these bins at Walmart. They're really inexpensive, but I get these bins. They fit the plastics in there perfectly. So moving on here, I have all these bulk boxes. Oh, and you notice I got a camera. So if you get any ideas, I can see, it's directed at my boat and at my tackle. That's probably maybe the second most important thing in my house. So I do have cameras all over. They are looking at my boat and everything else, the back garage. So I do like that. That's very important. In this bulk storage, I have these bins. I buy them from Walmart. Here's a box, for instance. Oh, I got something in here you can't buy anymore. But like this bin, there's a bunch of scope sticks in here. And these scope stick packages, they're round, right? So, I just take a rubber band and I rubber band them, and it makes it a lot easier to handle and carry, things like that, because how else are you gonna store something round like that, right? So I can throw them in there, and oh yeah, this is, if you know, Lucky Craft D9, can't get it, discontinued, and that's in the best color available. Ghost Minnow. So, I like going to these local tackle shops and looking for things like that, because sometimes they're in there, and you go in there, there's a bunch of dust collected on them, But again, I just put that in a bin. I mark it on the side, so that way, like I'm going to the Columbia next week, I will take this whole box with me, right? Because you just never know how many you're going to go through. Here, the other thing too, like I said earlier, I'm not sponsored by any storage company. I have some Bass Mafia, I have Plano Edges, I have these Rapala boxes. I like to get the exact box for what I'm trying to organize. So for instance, this Mafia box, right? It's a V1, super built rigid. I used to think, man, why would I spend 50 bucks on a box? But when you put 1 ounce plus jigs in a box like this, it really does make a difference how rigid it is. It just feels a whole lot better, you know, and you know, like this. Oh, that's the exact bait that I won Clear Lake on, MLF March. That's a blue sapphire 3-inch Yo Mama and a black, blue, purple flipping jig. That's the jig actually. So, you know, I put all these jigs in here and it's heavy. You know, this box, I mean, I don't know, I haven't put it on the scale, but this box is really heavy. I like these overbuilt rigid boxes for this type of stuff. You know, I do the same thing with my chatters. I got green pumpkin chatters. I got gold blade chatters. You know, I got less than an ounce flipping jigs. You know, these swim bait, you know, this stuff's really hard to organize. So this V2 box, like I said, you know, I had it in a V1 box and I'm like, oh, hey, I like the latch of the V2 box. Let me make sure I don't drop this. So on this V2 box, you can see I label everything by size, weight of hook, you know, that whole bit. When you're organized, for me, it just makes you more efficient. So the other thing I like about the V2 box is they built the lid a little bit higher. So that way when your baits are kind of sticking out of the top, you know, it'll still close, right? On the V1, the lid was kind of flatter. So I do like these overbuilt boxes for that. You know, another thing, clamshells are one of the hardest things to store. I've tried everything, you know, and what I have found that works the best is, you know, I got a bin, you know, about easy, it fits in the back of my truck. I'm gonna take this bin with me when I go to the Columbia, right? Because smallmouth love these paddle tail type of baits. So what I do basically in here is I list them by size, right? So I have these suicide shads, right? I have these big bite pro swimmers. And what I do is, if you look right here, right? So this is a 2.8, right? I take a Sharpie, which is a good friend, and I mark right on there big 2.8. So that way I'm not having to look for it. So I go 2.8, then I go 3.3, 3.8, and I go smallest to bigger, smallest to bigger, smallest to bigger, you know, and it really helps me be organized. And I just, you know, using the bags and marking them really helps. You know, if not, like I said, you know, you're using, you know, pegs and you have to pull it off of pegs and take it off. The other thing is, I got to point out my stool here. You know, I love having, if you don't have one of these around your garage, I love having this stool. You know, like if I'm wiping my boat down, I don't have to bend over. I can wipe my boat down, reach, work on things. I can slide around. Probably one of the best things that I bought. I keep all these boxes. Again, everything is labeled. My best friend is a label maker. You know, here's one of my bins. Here's one of my, this is a Rapala box. Like I said, I used to use Planos a bunch. These new Rapala boxes are really nice. One latch executes really well. 3 to 5 foot square bills, crawl, gill. So I know exactly what's in there. And then I sub-label them, like this has SB57, ATV, MR6, Echoes. You know, so I have all these baits in here. They're by color, you know, like this bait, check that out. Mangled, that's the actual bait that I won last year's Western Bass Shootout on. Won 126 grand on that and a Yo Mama. So that's the actual one. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep throwing that or not, because it's got definitely got some sentimental value to it. So, but I like this latch, you know, it's real easy. You know, so I have all these bins, all this. Oh, check this out. Dang, those are old and dusty right here. This is a 9th place. Check that out. Stren series, that's when it all started right there, 2006. I think this was the first MLF event I ever entered. I made the top 10 cut on this. It was 4 days back then, and they did 2 cuts. You fished, full field fished the first 2 days. They cut it to, I think, the top 20. The weight zeroed. Then you had to make the top 10 again, and then the weight zeroed again. So that's pretty nostalgic there. And then I have a 2007 5th place finish. So yeah, that's old school right there. Real quick too, you know, I always add lighting. You know, you can never have too much light, so that under the counter light really helps. You can see all that stuff. Oh, okay, here's something maybe you have or haven't seen. Old Loomis flipping stick, and I got these saltwater double hooks. It's not to gaff fish. It's not a, well, I won't mention his name. Okay, so basically it's a telescopic. It's an old flipping stick I used to have. I telescopes out. So, you know, we throw a lot of A-rigs here in Cali, or probably everywhere. So I made this A-rig gaff where basically, you know, I'll wind my line on the tip of this. I'll drop this down. And what happens is these gaffs, right? These gaffs will go down and they'll catch the arms, and I can pull the arms free. So that has saved a lot of money, because anybody that throws A-rigs knows that it takes, and it's one of my dad's old saltwater pen reels, you know, it's just got twine on it. So that has saved a lot of A-rigs. Everybody knows an A-rig alone can be 20, 30 bucks. You add all the baits and everything on there, you know, you're saving the price of a, you know, of a good glide bait. So I store that when I'm throwing an A-rig really hard. But everywhere has its place, you know, that's where I put it. You know, here I keep a lot of my my team tournament trophies here. You know, I just keep them out here. The stuff, you know, like these Don Lee events that that MLF put on after he passed away. You know, I was fortunate enough to win that back-to-back years. You know, one was in 14 and the other one was in 15. So you know, those are just memorable team events. You know, just fun stuff. Let's see, going on, you know, have a nice clean workbench. I got my sunline out. Can never have too much sunline. I love FC, I love crank. You know, here, you know, there's my label maker. Nothing fancy. I've had this label maker maybe 20 years, you know, and to show you how much I label, this is how much backup I have, because I'm just labeling, relabeling. Here's the rubber bands that I used from earlier. You know, all this stuff is here real easy for me to get to. You know, I put up one of these little magnetic tool holders, you know, so that way I can grab scissors. Well, here, let me show you something real quick. So I carry this, so that way when I am stripping line off of reels, right, I use an old spool. I basically take this nut, I push this nut through here, I spin it down, right, and then I take a drill, real easy. So I take a drill, and then now if I'm stripping line, I just go, right? So pretty neat. Can't say someone showed me that, so I did that. So I put that up here, I put some nips up here. You know, it's real easy to grab that stuff. That's my whole tackle wall right there. You know, for me to be organized, I like to have shelving. I like to have cabinets, you know, and again, I like this open shelving concept with all the labels put on there, right? Because they're just easy to grab back and forth. Bulk bins, you know, I carry those big containers, you know, just in summary, and I like to throw that stuff in there. It goes easily in my truck. You know, I am getting ready for the Columbia River. I'm leaving on Thursday. I got one more box to show you that I'm actually really proud of. So come on into the boat real quick. The punching box, okay? Again, I buy a box for every situation. I used to carry this in an edge box, you know, so it's a very compact box. You know, I have weights, 2 ounce, ounce and 3/4, you know, ounce and a half, ounce and a quarter, ounce, 3/4. And then I carry a small selection of punching hooks and then stoppers, you know. And what I love about this Mafia 2.0 box is, again, the single latch works great, but it's overbuilt, it's really rigid. When you put these heavy tungsten weights in, it doesn't flex. I'm never afraid of it opening. So don't leave home without this box. Last thing right here while I'm in the boat, you know, I I made these rod storage. These are closet poles, and these are just big old utility hooks that I screw into the ceiling, and I have them on both sides, and I'm able to put rods, you know, I mean, I can easily have 50, 60, 70 rods with reels put up on this side. So, you know, I got my super stick, push stick up there. I got extra rods, I got all that stuff. It's put out of the way. Other thing I like is if my boat's ever gone, or if I leave my garage open and my cameras aren't working, you know, at least for someone to come in here and steal my rods, they got to use a ladder and all that stuff. So it's up out of the way. You know, I really like that. So let's go around the back of the boat, and I'm gonna show you my motivating factors to continue fishing. This is it. This is the room. Come check it out. So, you know, I hung a couple of trophies up. This was a big deal to me because Lucas Marine Products, you know, it's a national brand, big brand. It was one of the first major deals that I've gotten recently. So that trophy had some, that jersey had some value to me. You know, moving here, you know, I got, you know, championship trophies, Vexus reward buckles, you know, this picture, this really is where it started. This is 2006 Stren Series, and it was on the Delta. It was the first event I entered as a pro at that level, and I finished in 9th place. That was a 4-day event back then, and they made 2 cuts, so that was real significant to me. One of my first wins individually as a pro there, that was 100% bass NorCal. That was Clear Lake. You can see the West Coast thing. That's a LV 500, you know, in American shad and chartreuse shad. That's where it all started. That was 2005 or 6 when I won that event. So, you know, real significant to win that event. So over here, you know, one bass. I had these 2 fish mounted. I caught nearly 2 7-pound spotted bass during the One Bass Pro-Am. You know, this event was really important to me. This was 2011 of January. It was really important to me because at the time, you know, I had won other places and I was pretty much known as a dark water, shallow water angler. So to go to Shasta and be able to go to a clear water spotted bass fishery and come out on top was really significant to my career at the time. You know, so here, you know, I have from 21 to 24, I've won 6 major events, you know, so I won a few Apex Cups in the 21, I won the Western Bass Shootout. I have all these Vexus Rev Reward buckles, which comes with 10 grand each. And, you know, here, westernbass.com and Jody Only did an article about that run that I was on, or still on, hopefully. And, you know, for me, what I really attribute to that is learning to trust myself in the moment. It's so hard to do, so easy to say, but you know, when your stuff falls apart, which it always does, over a multi-day event, it always falls apart. So being able to make those decisions and trust yourself in that moment to then readjust, you know, regroup, that has really what's helped me go on this pretty crazy run here. So really happy about that story that Jody did, you know, and this brings me to the last 2 things. You know, I started fishing way back in 06 with FLW, now MLF, you know, so this one first, you know, this was back in the National Guard days, and when they had all these corporate team deals. And I'll never forget, you know, when they offered this to me. You know, it was a Land O'Lakes deal through their National Guard. You know, it was a really lucrative deal. I was really proud to be selected for this. Little did I know back then at that young age, I didn't know how to foster it. I didn't know how to take care of it. I've learned a lot since, but this was very significant to me. And then here, this was this year, you know, one of the biggest things personally that I was chasing was that trophy right there. You know, I've had, like I showed you out earlier, I've had so many near misses, you know, so many seconds, so many times where I had the fish on to win. So to finally close the deal at Clear Lake earlier this year, you know, I actually had the jersey framed. I had a, you know, big picture right here. And then to finally put that trophy in here was like a lifelong mission for me. So anyways, you know, that's it. Before I start crying over that, you guys all get out of here. Thanks for watching Bass Caves presented by Tackle Warehouse.